Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to greet the participants, the viewers, and mass media at our expert panel, Development of Creative Arctic Clusters, the Case of Yakutia, within the frames of the Third Sustainable Development Forum. And today we have guests here in the studio and online, very interesting people with whom I hope to have a very fruitful discussion and a creative discussion, which should be the case here. And now I would like to introduce the guests and participants of the discussions who are here today in the studio. And today I have Afanasy Zakharov, Director for Data and Marketing, Development Corporation, Sakha Republic, Yakutia. Anna Cheremkina, representative of Kundakhan project, Tuyara Pestrekova, Director General, State Philharmonic Society, Sakha Republic, Yakutia. And online we have other guests, Anna Kharnas, Director, Center for Financial Literacy, NFI, Ministry of Finance, and Varetnikov Alexander, Deputy Director General, Expert Council, Coordinator of Para Expert Council. So, without much ado, we are going to get to the gist of our today's meeting. The government of the Russian Federation has approved the concept for the development of creative industry for the next 9 years only recently. And this concept has state support for all types of creative industry, including theater, music, art, and so on, as well as applied industries such as architecture, tourism, as well as creation of media and digital content. And this support is already being provided within the frames of many national programs. And as I understand, the development of creative industries is already ongoing in our country. And what I want to start our talk with is the creative economy. But economy is not only creativity, but also business plans, the knowledge of economics and finance. And as creative people should know about this. How can they move from creativity to specific projects? How can they be part of this economy? And this first question about this, I would like to ask to Anna Kharnas, Director of the Center of Financial Literacy. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I am very happy to join this discussion, not only as the head of the center, but as the graduate of business school in Holland, which specializes in creative leadership and the support of creative industries. It was established by a very interesting way when the Dutch government established it with McKinsey as a strategy for developing the Netherlands as a creative economy, because at some point it became clear that what is in creative industries can give a huge impetus for the development of economy. And there is such a clash there. Creative people, people of culture, they are often not very good with financial culture, and they need more support in this regard. And to understand, to become aware that the creative activities you are doing can be profitable. So this is the first aspect. And the second aspect is to look at how in the nearby industries, other creative approaches can reach spectacular results. For example, in tourism, where the creativity and economy can blend really well, and the history and so on. And inclusion into this framework of many people who are not a part of some institutions but are very creative by themselves is a good thing. For example, we had many events on financial literacy in many different regions of the country, and the people asked us quite a lot of questions. For example, I can sew socks with national ornaments. Can I make money on this? How can I take part in some kind of economic activity? I'm trying to sell these socks through a internet platform, but I'm being cheated. So not knowing how the basic financial instruments work, what needs to be known from the point of view of taxation, should one be registered as an entrepreneur, what kind of support can one get, and all of these questions which are all standing before us, so that all the elements of this creative economy can work fully and could help us to reach the sustainable development model. And I think the link here is very close. Thank you very much, Anna. And I really like the term that I heard from you, financial culture. Can you be slightly more clear? Can you tell us a little bit more about this financial culture? Well, culture is, well, it has many different interpretations. What is a culture? Yes. From my point of view, culture is a specific social contract and a set of so-called behavioral patterns and which people follow in their life, in their everyday life, how they behave in their families, how they behave at work, and so on. And the part of this culture requires significant development, starting from the fact that in many families it is not custom to talk about money. It's not part of our culture. And there is a huge part of our culture which is called just spend all the money but live beautifully. And there is no real culture within families, within social groups where we think about planning our future, about how we think about the future. Like, for example, when we are 20 years old, we do not usually think about retirement. We do not have this culture of long-term planning. We don't think about what we'll do in 20 or 30 years in Russia. But this is what we need to work with. And the changing of culture is a very long process. So we need to start talk about this. This is the first step. And on the other hand, we need to create the environment, the infrastructure where people will behave differently. And this is the financial culture. It can probably be compared with the culture of the healthy way of life. When we started to think about a healthy way of life, that we started to think that it's much better and more beneficial for us. And the state started following this topic, and very simple mechanisms started to be created in different cities. For example, sport fields accessible to everyone, and two directions here came together. It's the wishes of the people for a healthy way of life, and then conditions started to be created. And with financial culture and the financial healthy way of life, this similar thing is ongoing. When the state is trying to create conditions when people not only need to know about this, so it's not just enough to tell them you must know this or that about finances. We need to create conditions when the people will be able to easily go into this culture to create new behavioral patterns and to behave differently with each other in their families, in their communities, and so on. Anna, when we talk about the financial culture, please correct me if I'm not correct. I have a feeling that the creative people, well, they're starting a project, but it's difficult for them to start talking with, even with each other about finances. Maybe to even like have signed some contracts to register their trademarks, copyrights. But when the project starts to grow and it becomes profitable, then there are difficulties that start to crop up within this group of interactions. And do you think financial culture will help here? Yes, I think yes, because when we talk about the formation of financial culture, and it means that we need to start working on all the levels, in schools and with adults and so on, and need to show case studies and need to create special conditions so that people can learn and understand and so-called roadmap for the person to follow if he or she decides that he or she wants to monetize their creativity. And this situation is not only actual for creative people, even though it is very prevalent among them. And this is also very actual in business as well, because many business people do not have this culture. For example, they get some idea and they want to move forward really fast. But the culture in art, in everywhere, like those who win are not the ones who can have brilliant ideas, but those who have self-discipline, because any creativity is only successful when there is discipline. And this is the same with finances. And in this regard, culture, I think, equates to discipline. So you need to think very carefully about self-discipline to provide safety for oneself and to be able to plan for the future, including medium-term, long-term future. What are the prospects for your project and what financial instruments and mechanisms need to be used for success? Thank you. And finishing the first part of our talk, I want to ask you, a digital platform, My Finances, was created. So can the creative people find there some kind of advice for themselves? Is this platform going to be having more details, especially for them? Well, this platform, My Finance, is starting work from October 1st. And the answer, of course, is yes. We are trying to collect in this information for the maximum amount of different case studies, examples, and so on for people who are starting to work with money. Basically, anyone can find any advice for themselves that corresponds to his or her needs. And I want to say that anyone who is starting or is developing their own projects should find the maximum amount of quality information and to be able to make their own roadmap and to understand all the issues by themselves. And we are going to help them from the point of view of finances. So we are not only creating this platform, we are creating an information service where people can ask questions and can receive answers. So even if they cannot find a ready recipe for their own life situation, our experts will be able to help them. Thank you very much, Anna. And now I would like to, from the economy, to move to social sphere, because from where I stand, creative industries are not only not only the economy, but also social part, because it's the possibility for self-realization of people, for their social well-being, which is also quite important. And I would like to ask this question to Alexander Varetnikov and ask him to comment, will help to this will this help for the development of creative industries in Russia?
Do you mean the social sphere? Sure. Of course, it will help. The answer is yes. Do you need a full answer? Of course, we need a full answer. And we want to ask for you to share your experience. For example, your work is connected with the help and how to create the environment for such creations. So firstly, economically, if we begin with economics, creative economies, when we talk about that and about technologies, it's not only the talk about what is called creative part, about the art and so on. It's also the talk about economics. For example, to have the creative people in the public, to have them in the entrepreneurship field, to attract them, we have the secondary social effect. What is the social effect? The creative economy is very wide phenomenon. It's not only includes the industries that are cinema, advertisement, design, etc. We are forgetting about the husbandry and the national art, which is a part of creative industries. It's also included into such a phenomenon as a heritage. And it's very intensively developing. For example, we had a project from Ministry of Industrial Marketing for the development of creative industries for creation of clusters. We had a fruitful topic. What is the social effect? If we see at it as from the point of view social effect, we can talk about the husbandry and national art. So firstly, the women and the youth is working in this field. It's about 40%. It creates many workplaces. It's good that the youth is involved in that. Of course, it's good. It also can be a family business. All of these, all of them learn from their parents. They're doing poetry and other arts. And from the childhood, they see that. And they learn that in the national art sphere. So the majority of entrepreneurs who work are self-employed. And you can see another example. It's connected with the Arctic zone of Russian Federation, YAKUTIA, for example. It's also an art of husbandry, of smithery, of national art. All of this, we have done the analysis for all the regions of Arctic zone of Russian Federation. The majority of regions has the people who create such products. But if talk about Chukotka and Arkhangelsk region, it's a large industry there of such national art. For Chukotka, it's carving, it's the task of carving, which is very renowned in the world from the bone carving is a renowned art everywhere. And here a person is he's very of course I want to add two words about the education. You understand, the education in this sphere is very important. We need to raise the managers in this field. Of course, the art is important, but the artists can't work with the documents, works with financial documents, the income, outcome, and so on. But there are new programs in bachelor degree and master degree on this creative economics, creative industry fields. So the students get the knowledge, get the education on this creative economy. We have the joint program of in Rangiks. There are specialists who are involved in the management program in the field of national art and creative industry. And there are different programs on this field, of, including Yakutia. But in Yakutia, there might be a lack of this. I have a question. So the education on that, it is necessary for people of art, or they can be consulted with managers. But so does one need to dive into the national skills and national art? So there are people, for example, the artists. There are such artists who do the entrepreneurship and are very, they have much knowledge in this sphere. They're good artists and they're good entrepreneurs. They have many knowledge in this field, in the field of economy. There are many of such artists. So I think we can prepare people to the programs of management, but they can also employ people with management profile who can consult with them. I have one more question about the experience exchange. Do you have an idea after the work with such people that everyone is developing in their own field? But if we talk about clusters, that maybe we should unite such artists in one united platform, so that they could exchange their knowledges. Of course, you are very right. So these economic clusters, they have a definition from Michael Porter. So if this principle is not followed, so other things could not be called as cluster. So cluster can be a unity, but the educational institution should be included in this cluster. So the basis of cluster is created by educational institution. What's happening? So here you can see the exchange of this experience. So you can see the accumulation of the experience between the creative specialists, and this experience is disseminating on other spheres, for example, in business. It's also finance. It is intellectual property services, where there is a intensified exchange of the experience. And in Yakutia, there is a good factor. They have a national educational center, the North. The security was included in this program, is gaining the financial support for this program. And you can see that of this center of North, you can create a system which can benefit to the creative industries and can be a center which could could pass this knowledge to the wide auditory. Of course, you need to have attract such institutes and schools. I have communicated with these with students. They also have an understanding of what is that. And so you can develop such a cluster and widen the sphere. So in the center of the North project, Chukotka, Magadan, and these districts, they are also included in this federal program. So in these 4 regions, they can employ the experience of Yakutia in the in this approach. So thank you very much. And I want to come back to the
We have Afanasy Ivanovich here, Zakharov. He is one of the authors of the concept for the development of creative economy in Yakutia. And I would like to ask him how the clusters are developing in Yakutia. And your concept, does it include that what we have already talked about with our colleagues? Thank you. Good afternoon, dear participants of this forum. Yes, it is true that I will tell a little bit about the concept, what we have included there, and the concept that has been published on a federal level. I learned about it as soon as it was published. We were waiting for it for quite some time. And it is very similar in many respects to our own document. And we were very happy to see that many of its parts also corresponded to our own vision. And the creative industry in our country is starting to become a tool for developing the whole economy, which we talked about in 2019 when we're adopting our own concept. And continuing this discussion, the role of education, role of clusterization, which was added originally to our concept, this environmental ecosystem approach, and the not only the support for individual industries, but also for everything. We see the big potential for the contribution to the economy that this can be done. And we are talking about this creativity. So basically the share of all the creative industries and into the economy. Yes, we do actually measure this value, and it's about 1% here in Yakutia. It's compared to England, for example, where it is 3%. So the concept by itself is not about the development of creative industries here, but also for the development of all the non-targeted sector of economy in Yakutia. So the creativity is basically the condition for the survivability of the whole economy. Our competition is rising, and there are like international companies, federal companies coming to Yakutia, and the creative industry and the creative economy is the condition for the survival of our economy in Yakutia. So what steps did we take for developing this ecosystem? First of all, is on the example of the Arctic State University. Together with them, we developed a new strategy. And at the end of 2019, we had this interesting project called Creative Agency within this institute, which today is practice-oriented education shows, and the students, based on real examples, they brand maybe some jewelry companies or settlements, so they are getting experience and also making money. And in education, we also had this large project called Global Business, where we were clusterizing not only buildings. So it's not important the building itself, but programming. So last year we started programming like about 30 people from different companies. They all came together and are now working in this, for example, the Пространство creative space. And we also cooperated with our airline and so on. We already have results now. For example, the bread company is now like becoming a digital company now, and the results of this project, they are like spectacular at the moment. And developing this into a cluster, we think that this system forming project is the district of labor. It's about 13,000 square kilometers, and in April next year we are going to open the doors of this area for all the industries, and there's going to be the representatives from the Arctic State Institute and like the Global Business School graduates, which is now being done for the children and the adults and so on. It's like marketing, branding, creativity, and communication, everything that is being taught our children. So is this knowledge in demand? So the people of creative people, do they have demand for this kind of knowledge? Well, when we started it, there have been some difficulties. We were trying to convince them, and we did lots of enlightening work. And the second year that has opened this year, and the students who studied there before, they returned for this new course. And this course for children that has been launched recently, and we already have 200 children studying there. Children, what age they are? Well, it's of course the senior school students, grades 8 to 11, and we have half of them, 140 students from regions who are studying online. And this is they're learning about the commercialization of talent, and this cluster has many aspects. Entity, it doesn't only educate, but it's also working to revitalize the zones. Like originally they were there to revitalize the kind of depressive old regions of our city, and this site of ours is in the industrial district of our city, where there are many industries there and there's a market there. And using this cluster and with the help of the Mayor's Office of the Republic, there are going to be new services there, and the road will be repaired, and these are the goals we have. Well, perfect. And I'm interested, from these 200 students, children, how many of them will be able to create and will want to create? What will be the efficiency of this work? It's a very interesting question, and it seems that in Russia there aren't many courses like this, and some of our partners are only starting work on this field. They've been working for like maybe 5 years only. So children are children, and maybe their age is such that they cannot create something immediately. But our task is to plant the seeds in them of this creation for the future. So probably not all of them will become businessmen or entrepreneurs, but we are confident that creativity is not a profession, but it's a skill that needs to be there from childhood. Thank you very much, Afanasi. And here in studio, we have Anna Cheremkina, representative of Kundakhan project. And my first and main question is, what is this project? Please tell us about it.
Hello, everyone. Our project Kundakhan has been launched in 2020. It's only been a year, but we have done many work for now. So what is the word Kundakhan? Kundakhan means a name of small Afghan girl who 200 years ago was found in the site, and then she has been to the district where she gave birth to 10 children. And this story has inspired our project. Margarita Popova is the director of the project. She is the ancestor of Kundakhan project. Does this project retell the part of the epics or national myth and legend of northern people? The main mission of the project is the unification of forces to give the opportunity for northern people to be included in the modern world. So the different project, it's a tale that has been recorded in Russian and has been translated into small language of Evan. The song Kundakhan project that had a video clip which has been recorded in the north. So the images has been created, which included the performers Kija and Moskila. Especially for the project, they have created the song, wrote the lyrics, and performed that. And for today, this song Kundakhan is reaching top charts. I have seen the book, but I haven't watched the music video clip. Yeah, the music video clip is very wonderful. It has been recorded at the National Place with reindeer herders. Do you have any more ideas, other formats, other creative formats? We have plans for cartoon creation. We are doing the work on that. We have been making teaser for this animation, and we have creative work for creating of the paintings on the northern thematics. We have created the project Kundakhan in search. It is the collective image of northerners, and Kundakhan is in the soul of every person. The historical heroic moments in everyone. Do I get it right that it is not only aimed at the art, but also it is aimed at the social part? Does it? Yes, of course, it's not only art project, but also social project. It's aimed at the support of the disappearing indigenous minorities. As in Yakutia and as in the planet, it is preservation of our tradition, including reindeer husbandry, which is quite rare, unfortunately. And it is also attraction of active youth activists from the indigenous peoples. And the project supports the northern peoples. I heard that Margarita is quite far from the civilization and is doing a work on the internet connection in a remote village. Yes, within the project of expedition, the world of reindeer herders. So they are connecting the internet there in far taiga and far-reaching places. So the fast connection is the connection there is a rare thing. So we are launching this project as the first experience of inclusion into the digital world. I wish you all the success because it's a very kind project. And now I wanted to tell about Philharmonic with Tuyara Igorevna.
Can you please tell us what you are doing and what successes you have in creative industries? Good afternoon. The experience of our colleagues from different cultural directions of Yakutia, cinema, creation of computer games, and arts and crafts, they also inspire us, and we, the organization that develops classical academic music, also want to be as popular and in demand and financially successful. And analyzing the success of our colleagues, I understand that the unity of modern forms and the rich content based on the traditional culture of peoples of Yakutia gives a great impetus. In society, there should be a need, I would say even a fashion. It should be fashionable to wear Sakha national dress. There are rarely, it is rare that you can find some Sakha girl who doesn't have these national dresses. Yakut komus, Yakut knives, they are also brands at the moment. And we, the Philharmonic, which is only 10 years old at the moment, we cannot compete on the international market with well-known symphonic orchestras, because the world of music is not a big one. It's a kingdom of the existing canons, and what we perform needs to correspond to these high standards. And so in the concept of our development, we see our mission in the fact that we are one of the few symphonic orchestras that work in the Arctic and the North, and we are always trying to emphasize this. For example, the symphonic orchestra of our Philharmonic is called Symphonica Arctica, and the pipes orchestra, and we also have the Arca Arctica ensemble of strings, and we, as the two northern capitals, Yakutsk and St. Petersburg, have signed a contract, an agreement with Mariinsky Theater. And being a young orchestra, we already had concerts at Mariinsky Theater 6 times already. And creation of our symphonic orchestra is a unique experience of Yakutia. And I can say that this is a cluster, a creative cluster. About 30 years ago, the first president of Yakutia, Mikhail Nikolaev, created the Higher School of Music. And and many teachers came there who had classical music education in the best universities of Russia. And 16 kilometers away from Yakutia, there's a small village where these talented children came together and we shared our experience. And then slowly small collectives were created. And 10 years ago, the Philharmonic of Sakha-Yakutia was established without any issues concerning the staff members, the musicians. So almost all of the musicians in our Philharmonic are the graduates of our Yakutian schools of music. Of course, we do have invited musicians because we need that for experience sharing and so on. And we are developing our orchestra to try to compete with symphonic orchestras of our country. And I want to say that the day after tomorrow, we're flying to Yekaterinburg to take part in the 6th Symphonic Forum of Yakutia, which is a professional event, and we are very anxious at the moment, slightly nervous. Well, I want to say that you do not need to be nervous because I have been to your concert a few years ago in Yakutsk, and your collective, they had a great impression on me because on one side you have this classical music and on the other you have this originality, national originality. And I'm not a great specialist, but I could feel this as a listener that the classic music, your classical music, it had your own point of view, maybe differently, not like, for example, the Mariinsky Theater will do it, but it was original. And it was really good to see that you are also getting young people together and you're helping them to realize themselves and to develop. And my question here is what we were talking about, the economy and the social role. So these young people who are working with you, can they become the founders of their own projects, not only work with Philharmonic, but to do something of their own? Well, this issue is very justified at the moment, of course, because at the present we have applications are being received for the presidential grant, and our Union of Musical Activists of Philharmonic, we have won the grant after the third event, of course, which is called Word and Music for creating audiobooks for blind people or people with impaired vision. And in this regard, we do not have enough managers. And we think that there are not enough managers for creative industries because we would like to monetize our opportunities about our skills using internet and so on. We do not have enough lawyers who are versed in intellectual property law. And last few days, I've been looking for accountants for our team, and we do not have enough practical experience in this regard. That is why all these educational seminars or courses for the creative industry will be very welcome, not only for the capital of our Yakutia, Yakutsk, but also for the regions, municipalities who are located very remotely. My musicians, I think, yeah, they will grow up, and I hope they will create something, they will think of something, and we are going to help them. And the project that I want to do is going to be a kind of a resource center for creative people in the sphere of culture and arts. Here it is a problem at the moment, of course. So as I understand, this problem is not only Russian, but also from what I understand, UN declared the 2021 year the year of creative economy. So if you are doing it at this level, it probably means that support is needed not only for our cities, but also in other countries. Yes, of course. So we are finishing, concluding now, because we do not have that much time. And I would like to ask our colleagues who are online, Alexander Varetnikov, from what you heard, please tell us your opinion about what our colleagues in studio said. How does it correspond to the general strategy of creative industries?
Of course, I support my colleagues. They have a right understanding of the issues that they meet. So, Vladimir Ilyich said, learn, learn, and learn. We should educate people to work in this field. So that was a very right opinion by the director of Philharmonic. So if we look at the Republic of Sakha-Yakutia, it raises, cultivates the talented people. So what is the problem there? So Russians went leaving the Russia. So they have solved this problem by raising the artists here. But the musicians is one thing, and the launch of business projects is another. So, beginning from the short-term courses and ending with the whole education programs where the managers are raised in this sphere. So, one more thing is that the main thing, the main element in the cluster approach is the ability to use state mechanisms of support of such clusters. So one part is included in the project. Not all the spheres can be financed, but if we make a creative cluster, the education and tourism, they fall into the range of the support. They also can be financed from the state. So in Yakutia, Yakutia has an experience of such actions. For example, the bridge through Lena is being built in the future. Ministry of Economic Development, Ministry of Arctic and Yakutia are ready to create such projects of cluster initiatives to structurize this with the partnership with the state. So there can be financing other than grants. So everyone wants to get the financial support from the budget, but no one tells about the creative industry as in the whole world. It also makes profit itself as a company. So, thank you very much, Alexander Mikhailovich. And question to Anne Alexandrovna Hanas. And as I know, the regions are very actively taking part in the program of formation of financial culture. Can you tell about what is connected with and what is the range of this program in this region? In this year, we had a big happiness that hope that all of 85 districts will participate in the program of financial literacy in their regions. And I think that from that I heard today, and giving conclusion to that, we need to, on the level of region, that every program for creative economy, for financial literacy, that these programs could collaborate, could meet and make additional values to each other. So our culture tells that we we're digging parallel tunnels, but we need to do the joint work, the theory of clusters. As Alexander told, I support his words. For example, educational institutions, cultural institutions, and differences of educational institution is in that it is a structured ecosystem where the staff and students are having a dialogue, and when this model is transferred to the clusters creative, this will be a wonderful thing. And on the adopting such program in regions, we could see the education from practical point of view, not only create the knowledge, but the conditions for their implementation. For that project in the sphere of creative industries, that we can look at this from all the points of view. So, for example, the leader of the project uh, could look at the marketing, entrepreneurship aspects. So the creation of such environment is very important. So it should be happening at the level of the district and region. And what is Yakutia is doing is a good example of that. It also could help with the federal consultation to the region. How can we can strengthen what is happening now? So, thank you, Anna. Unfortunately, our time is wrapping up, so I think these topics that we discussed today, they were interesting for the participants and our listeners, and the main conclusions are on the surface, but the first step should be done, and these steps are being done. And we need to collaborate and let work in this direction. Thank you very much. I'm very happy I'm glad to participate in such discussion. Thank you. Thank you very much. Goodbye.